So Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the ball is now in Putin's court. Do you think Putin will say yes to this and agree to the ceasefire?
It's possible. But there's a lot of games between now and what happens. First of all, I guess the ceasefire doesn't really begin for Ukraine until Putin reciprocates. So Ukraine's not going to suddenly lay down its arms and stop fighting while Russia continues to advance, right?
Right.
Well, that's the first thing. Second thing, he could agree to a ceasefire, but then continue to fight. I mean, there could always be like accusations of provocations by Ukraine. There's no one to monitor the ceasefire. And in the past, this has been a critical flaw in ceasefires between Ukraine and Russia. Fighting just goes on. It's he said, she said, you did it, no, you did it. And the fighting continues until one side or the other decides it's done enough for that particular action. Another thing he can do is say yes and then put some really tough demands on the table, like Ukraine expected to give up the rest of these oblasts, the provinces that are still in the defensive area and have critical mineral resources that Kyiv is holding. He could also say that he's not going to continue the ceasefire unless Ukraine is commits to substantial disarmament. So there are conditions that could be imposed by Putin that would not extend the ceasefire.
Yeah.
And during this ceasefire, he could build up his forces and then be prepared to launch another attack. So there's a lot of games between here and peace.
So don't get excited right yet. We'll get to the concessions in just a second, but I was struck by something that Secretary of State Rubio said. He said, if Russia refuses to agree to this ceasefire, a 30-day ceasefire, quote, we will now know who the impediment to peace is. I thought we already knew that the impediment to peace was Russia. It was Russia that invaded Ukraine and started this war. Russia could stop attacking Ukraine at any moment.
That's exactly right. If you want peace, immediately stop the attack. If you want lasting peace, Russia should pull back and give up the terrain that it has seized through unprovoked aggression. That will lead to an immediate and successful ceasefire and lasting peace.
Yeah, time in this case appears to be on Russia's side, except that now the United States has resumed immediately military aid and sharing intelligence with Ukraine. Does that ratchet the pressure up on Putin as Steve Witkoff heads there this week to meet with him?
Well, it may help a little bit, but the intelligence, we don't know exactly what's being shared and how much. We also don't know what the actual flow is. Actually, before we cut off the flow, it was choked down considerably. At least that's the reports that I was receiving from friends in the area.
So choked down by what?
Choked down by the actual flow rate. It's not like thousands of things were flowing in. It's like you expected them. How many? Today we got 2, we got 3, we got 1. And also there was a very important Russian attack on a ship that was in Odessa harbor that was hit by Russian missiles. Apparently some intelligence leak. They targeted the ship and apparently it had a lot of armaments on it, including important HIMARS missiles and things like this. So we don't know what that flow is, but certainly it's better to have it on than have it all.
Until now, Trump has never said what concessions Russia must make to end the war. He's made it very clear what he thinks Ukraine has to do, but he's not said anything about Russia. Putin has made it clear he wants a lot of Ukraine to be part of Russia. He wants a guarantee Ukraine will never join NATO. He doesn't want any peacekeeping troops from the United States or Europe in Ukraine to enforce any ceasefire. It's hard to imagine him giving up on any of those demands.
It is, except that he also wants sanctions relief. And so it depends on how the United States plays the sanctions relief and the armaments to Ukraine and the peacekeeping forces that go there. So the United States can push back on this. The question is, will we do so? And one of the things that makes this difficult, of course, is that part of the negotiations are transparent, the pushing on Ukraine. Part of them are not transparent. That's the dialogue between President Trump and President Putin.
Right.
So have to look at the results. We really don't know what's happening.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.